Greetings, YouTube. Today we're taking a look at an Odenwolf knife, the W flat, and Oden is Odenwolf. Odenwolf, as Oden is often spelled with an I. This time it's spelled with an E. This comes in like this. A nice little green sheath. I have the green handle. This has a bare steel blade, D2 steel. It's also available in a black handle and a green handle with a coated blade. I'm not a big fan of coated blades. I prefer looking at steel. I like shiny steel. I'm autistic. Um, has a hanging attachment method here. So this comes in here like this. It's got two screws that hold it. Now this is the one thing that kind of I find strange. They have spacers right here. Okay, there's two spacers right there, which means that this is proud of the knife sheath. And I don't understand why. It means the whole thing kind of is floating in the air, which just means I think it increases the chance of it getting caught in something and being leveraged and possibly damaging itself, or just getting caught in something, which is really annoying. Um, I don't see why wouldn't have it laying flat on the sheet because the sheet has a flat. There's a flat right here. I mean, there's a bevel on either side of that flat, but there is a flat here. So you could put this on that flat. I don't see why you would do that. I have not disassembled it and reassembled it to see if that works, but I am baffled by that to a certain degree. But it does mean that this can be removed. So if you want to, you could just take this and strap it to something. For example, a backpack strap. You put this here. This is small enough that it would fit right on a backpack strap, which puts your knife at a very convenient location as opposed to on your leg where it can obviously get caught in things more frequently. It also means that when you're sitting down, if this is much closer to where you are and need it, than down here on your leg. Um, and this whole section up here is meant purely for hanging it off your belt. This is just a retention strap. The sheath keeps the knife in place. This just holds the knife against the retention flap so you don't get a lot of slop. Got a snap closure. This is a nice touch. This has both a snap closure and Velcro. So you can take this on and off without removing your belt, which is a nice feature. But it's also going to be very secure because you have both a snap and Velcro. And it's big enough to get a 2-inch belt in there without any issue. This section is in here is riveted, but the whole unit can be removed, and you could easily swap it to the other side if you're right-handed or left-handed. Though this does not allow in this configuration a horizontal carry, but because you have all these holes in here, you could probably pretty easily strap this to your uh, pack. Most packs have a strap that goes around there for a belly strap. You could probably strap this in there and have it available if that's your vibe, or even put it on your belt if that's how you like to carry your knife. I think this is a bit big for EDC carry, like in a every day-to-day life, but other folks like bigger ones. So again, snap closure. Now the sheath itself, it's got a little bit of wiggle. It's got a little bit of wiggle, but it's also very secure. I watched a video from a guy, I believe his name is Green Beetle. He makes knives, and he had done a video, a two-part video so far of knives that are $40 and under. And the first one he did, this was in that section, and I saw it. I really liked the look, and I really liked the overall vibe. He reviewed it with a positive uh, score, so I'm like, okay, it's under 40 bucks. I'll give it a try. So nice click that you got, and not too difficult to get off. I appreciate that. I do have arthritis. So here's the knife in question. Um, you got a logo on one side and a little D2 thing symbol on the other. Uh, Molded plastic handle, so it full wraps around. Obviously, full tang. It's got some nice texturing on here that's not too aggressive, so it's not going to be catching on a glove. I've seen some knives that have a rubberized surface on them, and I think it's a little aggressive for some situations. Also, those kind of rubberized surfaces, in my opinion, don't age well. This kind of plastic, I think, is not going to give you an issue. And this is a very comfortable knife. They really did put some thought into the ergonomics of this. Everything is nicely rounded. There's nothing in there for a hot spot, and your thumb naturally comes right on there. I will admit I'm not a big fan of exposed tang like that. It's just not my vibe. I would prefer this to have a full plastic and still have a lanyard hole. I am also baffled about the color choices. You have your color choice of black or green. Now this is going to be something you carry out in the wilderness as an EDC, bushcraft kind of thing. Um, if your sheath is green, it doesn't really matter. It's attached to you, either to your strap or your back or your leg or what have you. You're not losing this, okay? But this is green. It's not difficult to drop a knife while you're out in the doing things outside. A green or black knife is going to be much harder to find than one that has a different colored handle, specifically safety orange. I think safety orange is a great color for knives that you're going to be using for bushcraft. I really do. Um, However, because it has this really generous lanyard hole, I mean, I could get probably easily get two pieces of paracord through there. It would be not too difficult to put a little braid on there made out of safety orange paracord. That's what I would do if I were going to carry it. Just put a little bit of braid on there. Um, I wouldn't put a loop because that means it catches on stuff, but just a little bit of braid on there. So in case you drop it, it's not difficult to find. I think that's a big bonus. Now, one of the things that I loved about this was the pattern. That just kind of said Skagel to me. You know what I mean? I saw that. I'm like, that makes me think of a Skagel knife. And I like that. Oh, yes. And by the way, for those that really want to do this, it is also comfortable in a uh, reverse grip. I'm not a knife fighter, but it's still comfortable. Now, it also attracted me because it's a full flat grind. A true full flat grind goes from the spine all the way to the edge. Everything here is nicely done. The edge is crisp, but it's not sharp. Comes out of the box with a really solid edge. Quite nice. I used this for my wife and I used this for several days in the kitchen for food prep. It did a beautiful job. Now, it's not a real thick knife. Now, and for some people, they're going to be like, oh, I want a bushcraft knife that's super thick. It's a 1/4 inch bar of steel. I've never understood that. I don't. I only thing I want something like that is like I want an axe that's it's thicker than that, but I want a knife or a machete that's this thick. That's the thickness I want. This is a tool for medium-sized tasks in your day-to-day life out there, camping and such. This is not for heavy-duty stuff. You could probably do some light batoning with this. I don't think I'd recommend it, but you can probably do it. Um, And I also not a big fan of people. A big fan of people carrying axes. Axes are a really good way to give yourself an injury you don't want 5 miles from a road. Okay, axes are really dangerous unless you're very talented with them. I've used axes. I've never seriously injured myself, thankfully. But I know someone who drove an axe while splitting wood into his ankle, and when he let go of the axe, it stayed there. That's a bad injury. Thankfully, it didn't impede his walking once he was healed. Um, the virtues of being young. Um, but to me, that's the thickness you want right there. You don't want a super thick knife. You really, really don't. This is going to do the tasks you need: feathering stuff, food prep, cutting general tasks around you. Absolutely going to handle all of that stuff. And it's got enough of a belly that you could potentially do some, if you had to do some skinning, you might have a shot at doing that. I'm not a hunter, but this is a fairly generous bit of skin, of belly in there. So I would be better than having nothing. So let's put it that way. Um, Now, one of the things I do question is the sharpening choil is frigging tiny. I don't even know if you can see it. It is so small. Look how tiny that sharpening choil is. It's like what, 3 millimeters maybe, and maybe a millimeter deep. That should be slightly larger to be a proper and functional sharpening choil in my book. You want to have that at least 5 millimeters, at least maybe 6, and at least 2 millimeters deep. You want something in there that's going to let you do a proper sharpening job. I think that's too small, but that's just me. The other thing I was a little confused by was this jimping right in here. You can see it right there, because this little ramp right there is really comfortable. I mean, it's your thumb falls there. It gives you lots of good purchase. It's not sharp, very comfortable, and I'm like, so if I have to do this kind of cutting, or if I want to do this kind of cutting, if I'm doing some food prep, it's a very comfortable knife. So, and if I need to do a scalpel, that jimping isn't anywhere near where I would want to have my finger. So I'm like, so what the hell is this for? Not to mention, it's very, very small and it's quite aggressive. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, Ferricium rod. So I got a Ferricium rod out and I gave it a shot, and this thing throws sparks like a champ. So this right there, that's got to be what it was designed for. I don't think you need a piece of jimping for your finger in this spot. Not to mention, it's the smallest jimping I have ever seen. It's like one step above a metal file. That's how small that is. I think I may have actually seen metal files that are almost designed like that. So yes, I think this is an awesome little tool under 40 bucks. I don't think you can go wrong. Um, this is the kind of thing that you might want to give to somebody who's just getting into camping and stuff. Of course, the Murakani is an obvious choice as well, but I like this. That pattern is just really beautiful. Look at that. That is just a pretty pattern. Um, and the finish is good. It has a nice little distal taper. It starts about right about here. You get a nice little distal taper towards the tip. I'm a big proponent of flat grinds. I personally think that the only place a hollow grind belongs is on a straight razor, and I will die on that hill. I think hollow grinds are horrible other than on straight razors. Flat grinds are the way to go. So the Odenwolf W flat, I think it's a great little knife. I really am glad I have it in my collection. And I think that if you're going to be doing any kind of, basic medium duty tasks while you're out there doing EDC, camping, or just you're doing bushcraft, I think this might be something that you want to give a try. I think you can do a lot worse, especially considering it's under 40 bucks.